All right, hey everyone. I'm here today with Andrew Keen, who is one of the only people in the industry who has not just built his own publishing and trading business, tools business, been a major face of a pretty big franchise actually, for one of the Agora companies. So, like Andrew, you've done it all, and your, of course, greatest success is being the MC at FMS. Thanks for being here.
Greatest success. I don't get paid for that one. Yeah.
Maybe
So
that's my greatest success.
yeah, I mean, I'll tell. I mean, I'm such. I volunteer myself to be the MC because I'm such a proponent of the FMS and the summit. And I'll tell a little backdrop of how I got introduced. So I traded on the trading floor as a market maker at the CBOE for 10 years. I was on CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business like every single day, and then I was creating a brand at the time. I didn't know it. And when I left the trading floor, a lot of people went to go work for, Thinkorswim or TD probably at the time, or, Option Monster or Interactive Brokers. And I was like, I don't want a corporate job where I make like 200 grand, I make 5% a year. And this is when blogs got really popular. So this is in 2011. So I went through every finance blog on the whole internet and I came across John Carter. John knows the story too. And I basically went into his trading room. I paid $199 a month to get in his trading room. And then I was like, wow, I mean, I think I'm more entertaining than him. I have a very big, extensive derivative background. I think I can do exactly what he does. So I started asking around. I asked Mark Sebastian, who used to be at the CBOE with me, and I was like, hey, how does this guy John Carter do? Remember, he's like, he kills it. I'm like, by selling $199 live trading room. So I basically took the simpler trading business model of live trading room. We've sold over 10,000 educational courses on demand and DVD. And I basically started my own company from my Twitter was big at the time. Instagram didn't even exist. So my Twitter following was my biggest and the media. And then I launched basically, it used to be called Keen on the Market, which is a pun, obviously. And then it branded into Alpha Shark. And I realized over time, like, I don't like running a business. I don't like employees. I don't like managing people. It sucks. And then I ran into Jeanette Sims and Hubert Centers, and Jeanette will be there. She was my affiliate manager, and Hubert's kind of like my mentor in the industry. And I started working with them. So I started doing a bunch of webinars. And then me and Jeanette, like, I think we in the business world, we've gotten married and divorced like 6 times. And I just talked to her yesterday. And then basically, she's like, you're really good, you know your stuff, but like, you don't know how to do webinar. Like, you have to be at pitch at 45 minutes. You just tell people, here's my ebook, here's my website. So Jeanette then said, hey, there's this conference. We're getting into the conference. She's like, there's this conference. You should really come to this conference. I think you'll get a lot of benefit. So I go to this conference. This is when, like, I don't even know what this year it is. That's when I met Diana Gordon. So this is probably about how long have you been running the conference for?
Since what, 13, 14? So this
Okay,
is probably Diana's
since
there's probably
10 years
14, 15, 16.
years or
She's
what year it was.
well, Diana was AF and she would come back
But you
in.
so you started the conference in like 2014 or something.
Mhm.
Okay, so this I think was probably like 2016, like a couple years, and there's only like 40 people there. And it's like crazy now. There's like 500 people at this, and there's like 40 people there, and they're like, stand up, say your name and who you work for. And I've in my whole entire life, I've never heard of Agora, this company called Agora. Everybody stands up and they say their name and who they work for, and like half the room is like, I work for Agora. I'm like, I know I'm on the trading floor. I know Citadel, I know Goldman, I know Morgan, I know Merrill, I know Barclays, I know Bear. Like, I never heard of Agora. Who are these people? And Diana, that was a year Diana wore her costume too. That
Oh yeah, that was a
she's
bigger one. That's probably 120 people at that one.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
So I befriend Diana. I'm like, yeah, great costume. I need to make friends with her. And then basically she's like, what do you do? She's like, do you know anything about cryptos? And at the time I was, decently into cryptos. And she goes, I have a publisher in Baltimore, Pete Coyen, and they're looking for a new guru. So I fly to Baltimore, I meet with Pete, and within probably 4 weeks, I was signed with Agora Financial. And at the time, AF had the highest revenue. I was at AF for about a year and a half under Paradigm Press. And unfortunately, but fortunately for AF, I just didn't get any bandwidth. They signed Kirosaki and Sykes right after me, and they're bigger names than me. I get it. So like, I just didn't get the bandwidth. So I went over to Money Map Press. So I was at AF for about a year and a half, and then I went to Money Map Press for 2.5. Like I was supposed to meet with Mike Ward for like half an hour. I think I was there for like 3 hours, and I was there for 2.5 years. We did a $500,000 production in Philadelphia. They rented out Tower Theater. Jed wrote my promo. My franchise did 18 million that year. I think I've done close to 40 million total on my brand and my name. And then MMP started, coming apart. And then I've known Aaron DeHoog for a long time. And everybody's like, you should be at Banyan. Like Aaron's a great guy. I met him before. I trusted him. Like in this industry, there's people you trust but no trust. So then I went over to Banyan. I was at Banyan for a year. So like I think all encompassing, I was at Agora divisions, 3 different Agora divisions for about 5 years, and probably did close to 35 or 40 million on my franchise total. And I never wanted to leave anywhere. Like I was trying to find a home, and just haven't never found one. And then, I left Banyan about a year ago, and now I'm just on my own. But my whole point is the money that I made, the money that Agora made, would never have been possible if I didn't go to this conference. And the conference, when I try to explain it to people, I say there's 4 people at this conference, more or less, and they all is an ecosystem, and they need each other. It's a guru, it's a marketer, it's someone who sells leads, it's a publisher, and copywriters. That's like 90% of the room. And as a guru, I can't make money without a copywriter. A copywriter needs an expert, So like we all need each other. And I always, when I'm emceeing the event, I always say, it's always comfortable to sit with the people that you know. But like I'll look at people's name badge, and then I'll go to LinkedIn, and I'll be like, oh, this guy was like really high at Oxford. I don't know anybody at Oxford. I'll just like, hi, I'm Andrew Keen. I'm an options guru. If you guys ever need him, I just keep my name. Oh, I've known your name, kind of thing. So like the conference comprises all these different people. Like if this conference was every month, I would go to it every month. I mean, because I have personally made millions of dollars from this conference, and Agora has made 35 40 million off of me, and it's so crazy to think that this one conference by Jeanette Sims inviting me and saying, hey, check this conference out, changed my life so much. And I basically almost like stopped running my business because I was doing very well with Agora. So
well, thanks for that pitch for the event.
no, it's not a pitch. I don't pitch. Like I
No,
was
no, I
dating.
know. No, I appreciate that. I really
It's
do, because
just it's like it's so much money is in this industry, and the opportunities of like what you can make is incredible. Like Josh Morris, like actually he went to my high school. He doesn't know me. He's like 2 years older than me. I went up to him like, hey, you went to Deerfield? He's like, you did? I'm like, I know your little sister. I do 2 emails for him. I made $5,000. It's $5,000. It's great. Like that's just one tiny little partnership.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I love that, because I mean I remember when I first had the idea for FMS, it was essentially like I was working a lot in the trader education space, especially doing affiliate launches and stuff. And I'd come from working for Clayton Makepeace, who was much more on the newsletter side as a copywriter. And so I knew like the Agora world and the Weisses and all the publishers over there. But like none of those two worlds didn't know each other at all. And so that was the first idea. It was like, what if we put these 2 people together, right? And like that was kind of magic, because the amount of information transfer, the amount of recruiting, relationships, partnerships, and everything that came. And then you're right, like it is like the thought was the ecosystem. Like it's like the industry is like a house of cards, and you have this group publishers, you have the media buyers that they need, you have all the talent that they need, and none of them can, like you said, nobody can work without the other group. But there wasn't a central place for everybody to kind of learn and meet and connect, and just like talk about the industry. So that was kind of where it kind of started. And yeah, it's been really cool to see the development of that, but then also like how the industry has evolved in the last 10 years. How would you say, because you have such a unique experience in the industry, a lot of people come from just Agora, or they have their own business, like you having crossed back and forth, how would you kind of characterize this arc that we've been in, and where the industry is now from your perspective?
Um, it's interesting because I am very privy to like the Agora world and the Agora, gossip and what's going on in it. But I do run my own company. Um, so when I launched my company 13 years ago, we used to sell a lot of education. Like I've done 1,000 live webinars, right? So we used to do education. We worked with Kunaki, and they can make the DVD on demand. There's like a robot in
I
Las
read about
Vegas where you
Kunaki.
send Kunaki, you send them the files and they just print out the DVD and ship it. You don't even talk to a human being. I don't think they have a human being work for their company. So when we launched, I am technically a publisher. We sold like 10,000 educational courses. Like we would always sell education. Okay. So this is going to be different than the Agora world because they have traditional front end, back end, and like they, in a world of like more like John Carter world, we used to sell a lot of education. Okay. I think we have 19 courses on demand and DVD. So education was really, really popular. And then I think there was an industry shift, and then people became indicator crackheads. Oh my God, it pops up on my chart and tells me to buy Apple and where my stop loss is. Then we pivoted and we have 13 proprietary based indicators on Thinkorswim, TradeStation, and Ninja. And people love that, right? And then people didn't want that anymore. So then we started sending like trade alerts. And there's actually, I don't even know if you know about this, but there's a big ploy with text providing services. So since we do advice, I'm a publisher exemption. So I guess recommendations. Um, the carriers are starting to block anybody sending text alerts. So we've had to change our number 3 times through SendHub because the carrier will just block us,
Hmm.
and they just don't care. They don't want AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. They don't want any text whatsoever sent. And I go, we try to explain to them that like, hey, a subscriber is paying for a text alert through us. We aren't soliciting them. We're in compliance with every guideline in the United States. They're
Mhm.
asking for this. We're not saying this will be your AI stock for buy it for $2 and it'll go to 100. Like this is a recommendation they're asking for and it paid for. That's a whole nother thing. So that got really popular. And now we start selling like proprietary based scanners in the derivative space with my background. We license the technology from the CBOE. They create the scanner for me on my 15 backend filters. And now, we've selling a lot of the scanners. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the trajectory of where we've been in business is education first, indicators, text alerts, and now it's kind of like these scanners. And if you throw anything with the word AI, it's like 5 years ago, like everybody was becoming a crypto miner. Like there's
Right.
like publicly traded companies like, we don't sell drugs anymore. We actually do Bitcoin mining. And then like stock would go up like 400%. Now you have to just associate everything with AI and it just everything blows up. So yeah,
Yeah, and
that's how the
there's
shift
gonna
has
be more
been.
regulatory issues with that. Like they're gonna have like people are using the term AI for things that are not AI, and the FTC is definitely looking at that too. So yay, FTC.
Yeah, and
Um,
then in the world of Agora for me, how that has shifted and changed a lot. It just Agora used to, I feel like, be able to take anybody. Like Jed is like one of my heroes in life.
he's talking about
Um,
Jed Canty, the copywriter. He's
yeah,
the main copywriter at Money Map for a long time.
yeah. So Jed is like one of my heroes in life, and so I had a promo. Jed and Mike Ward ripped it up. He goes, go sit with Jed for a couple hours. I'm there for 10 hours talking about the DNC. And Jed said to me one time, he's like, oh, so you're a guru. I'm like, I'm not a fucking guru. I'm like, I'm an expert. Like, I know derivatives, backwards, forwards, left, and right. There's not a question you can ask me about derivatives that I don't answer because that's why I'm going to write for you. I'm like, what? He's like, I could find some dude on Upwork right now and pay him $30 an hour and I could do $10 million. Like literally. And I believe it, right? So like they can play off anybody so well. So, like, and I think in the industry and the shift, like, oh, I was an analyst at Morgan Stanley. You know how many analysts at Morgan Stanley? Like,
Well, there's a couple things there though. Like one is that was during a particular period of time
right.
when anything was selling, like especially if you
Anything.
threw Bitcoin on it, right? Right now it's gotten harder. And if he could do 10 million with a guy who had 30, then the more credibility he's got, he can do 30, 40, 50. And so
Right.
like I think that's a piece that like there's been an arc of credibility increasing of people in the space. And so it's not like I don't want people to like think, oh, well, it doesn't matter how good the guru is, I can get this guy in Pakistan and who's never done anything, he can write some stuff for me. Like,
I mean, I think that the copywriter is way more valuable than the guru. I mean, I used to tell Jed, like, I work for you. Like, you don't work for me. I work for you. Like, you are going to determine our success more than I'm going to determine it. I can only do so
well,
much.
I would say it's two wings of the bird, right? Because for bringing somebody in, because they don't know what the product, they don't experience a product until they buy it. So
Right.
bringing somebody in is the copywriter, keeping them is the guru. That's kind of the, they got to like it. And can you sell?
Yeah.
It's easier to sell better secondary products to people who actually like you because you are great at what you do, versus, there's plenty of cases of like, hey, this promo sold a ton of stuff to this person, but like, man, this guy sucked, and the renewals sucked, and then the back end sales were sluggish, and so
Yeah.
like
I
the
mean,
guru does matter.
like I agree with that because if the customer's happy, like I know they will have some products that have an 80% refund rate and stuff like that. So like if you have a expert that can produce a decent track record, then you will keep the customers longer and the refund rate. Like I was told when I was at Money Map that I had the lowest refund rate at all of Agora. It was
Wow.
like something crazy. It was like 7% blended. It's like 4 and 12.
Blended with the front and back end.
Yeah. Our
Wow.
back end got because we were running a fulfillment every day, right? Because I ran a live trading room. So like the fulfillment every day made those people not, because they got a product every day instead of getting a pick once a week. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was like 7 to 7.5% blended. It was like 4 and 12 or something like that.
Jeez.
So yeah. So I mean, I
Good
think
for
in the
you, man. That's
industry shift
amazing.
and like I've been told through the grapevine that like Agora is trying to get away from the trading space. And just by looking at their franchise and the gurus that they've had, it's not as much trading as much anymore. It's like going back to the old school investing. Like I had the only trading room at Banyan, and then Money Map Press. I mean, Brett launched like 5 or 6 rooms, and Money Map doesn't exist anymore. So like those rooms are now gone. Like I think the only room that exists for like a trading room now in Agora is Oxford with War Room. And they used to have 10 across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that industry shift is away from trading per
Well,
se. I mean, I saw something on CNBC, and
so
I don't believe this. I cannot believe this. They said 40% of all options trade are zero DTE, days until
what does that mean?
expiration. So there's now,
For anyone who's not.
so options always have an expiration. So when I was a market maker on the trading floor, if you wanted to trade Apple for an announcement, you'd have to trade the monthly options. So there's 12 expirations. And the market was like this wide. It was $1 to $1.10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as technology evolves and there's this shift in everything, the markets, it's like if you can think of a currency exchange, like a currency exchange main goal is to buy the bid, sell the offer a million times over, just make the spread,
Right.
right? Just like in Vegas, they don't want to be on too much of one side of the bet. So it was like $1 to $1.10 in the Apple call, right? And then it started going like this. And then it was like 106, 107. So like there's no theoretical edge for a market maker. And then expirations became weekly expirations
Mm-hmm.
because so now if you want to trade Apple for some announcement they're going to have or earnings, you don't have to trade the one that's a month out now. And the exchanges keep pushing out more products. More products, that means that there's going to be more volume, which they make more money on. So now the hottest thing out there is there's zero DTE options days until expiration. So the SPX has one. There's one called the XSP, and that is basically the S&P like a tenth of it. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
SPY, but these convert to cash. So when you trade normal derivatives, if you're long a call and
Mm-hmm.
expires in the money, you get long stock. Okay. If you short a call, expires in the money, you get short stock. Now it just settles to cash. And they said on CNBC, 40% of all the volume flow is going to these DTEs. And there's a lot of people in the industry that says this could be your next black swan effect. Like, I don't know if you watch how regularly you watch the market, but like yesterday, the S&P was up like 10 points. For like, the 4 days before Christmas, everybody's in the Hamptons. Like it just just sitting there chilling. All of a sudden, in literally an hour and a half, the S&P sold off 80 points. No reason. It just sold off. And like that could be the next black swan of
Mm.
these zero DTEs that convert to cash because the volume on these things are so big.
And so what's your interpretation of that from the publishing perspective then? Are you saying that that means
I,
that there's
I
way
think
more
I
active trading going on
I
than
think there's a
ever?
huge, I mean, if I was a publisher, well, I guess I technically am a publisher. If I was a big publisher like Agora, I would be launching a zero DT product ASAP.
So
So
here's how I think of this as, and I could be wrong, but I want to put this frame out there for people to think about in terms of like, is active trading declining or not in this whole? Because you're right, there's a lot of Agora groups and other publishers who are moving away from it. And that I think that what we had during this last kind of bull market was one of the kind of sub trends was this increased sophistication in trading in the retail investor. Like there's a boom in it. There was a couple of things driving it. There was one a substantial enough group moved into retail trading. We saw this huge bull market in just the retail trader investor, and a larger segment of that increased the market for active trading. And like options trading is kind of the pivot point where everybody kind of, when somebody like that's a marker. Like as soon as somebody trades an option, they've moved into a new class of customer from our perspective. In my mind, they are way more active because they're not just looking at like long-term stock investments, right? Even if they're doing swing trading on stocks, it's not like once you do an option, that's a significant event, right? In their sophistication. You used to not be able to sell options to newsletter guys at all. They had to hide it, and then you have massive refund rates because everyone was scared of them. Then you had a period where you could sell options products as a mechanism, and you would have like just the same kind of thing you would have in any other um, trading strategy or asset class, an increasing sophistication in the mechanism. Like my mechanism for option trading is better. I have this system, I have that, I have weeklies, I have whatever. And now we've moved to the point where like just having options isn't like exciting by itself, right? It's about something else. And then so there's this one trend where I think that people are way more comfortable trading actively. But at the same time, I think that we have an increasing list bias in the industry. I think that the stock investor customer that is better on the Agora side has fewer and fewer of those people relative to other models of acquisition. And so I think that like, is that me or you?
yeah.
Sorry, I have it on do not disturb, but um the uh the customer base is getting more sophisticated. And so like you have groups that are going after the trader directly in different marketing models more effectively than just finding them on the back end of other stock stuff.
Okay,
So
so
I
let
think,
me ask you a question because I mean, you might know it better than me. If you took all of Agora's companies, okay, and you let's get rid of all the crypto
well,
products
wait,
for
let me
argument's sake.
finish. Let me finish one thing first. One thing first.
Okay.
The there's a difficulty too of how you built your list on one strategy when so like and then you try and switch it to another one with other products is really hard, right? Because you have kind of a bias in the customers. They bought this type of product, whether it was stock investing, more passive, longer term, kind of interesting stuff versus like really active trading. Um, it's hard to convert. You're not going to convert all of those people to another strategy, right? Because they came onto the list under a certain kind of frame, and those customers identified themselves, said, "Hey, I'm this type of trader. I'm this type of investor." Um, but there was a boom in people who were interested in trading as an income stream because there was a ton of people out there who were selling like newbies on the idea of trading. And this isn't even in the industry. This is more like biz op internet marketing on the idea of trading in the last cycle as an income stream, right? And so they brought a lot of people in. I think they all got washed out because none of them were really very good traders. They didn't have money to do any real investing. Bitcoin brought a lot of people into the market on the Bitcoin side, but they weren't really buyers of other types of trading and investing products necessarily. And so you have these like big floods of customers that come in that aren't really from the market. They're not really customers of the industry. They're customers of a trend. And when the trend goes, they don't stay in the industry, right? As much or a huge percentage. So a lot of people who came into the crypto booms didn't stay as buyers necessarily, right? Um, on on a longer term because they weren't really long-term investors. They were like, holy shit, they're catching the Bitcoin trend that everyone was talking about everywhere, right?
So
And so I think that, yeah.
from your opinion, then, is trading options customer base increasing or decreasing?
I think it's stabilized. I think there's going to be growth with it, but it's not what you don't have is like this explosion of options, right? That of trading that we had in the last several years. It's going to be a certain percentage of the customer segment is going to trade options, right? I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think it's going to shrink dramatically. I think what it is that we were benefiting from a growing trend as people were in mass kind of getting more and more interested in options, and then everyone's promoting it. It has a kind of an effect where everyone's seeing options, and so people who are on the fence move into it, and so you have this increase in the number of people who are willing to trade options that was really kind of big. And then the energy from that fades out. It's no longer new to people. It's no longer that interesting relative as just an asset or trading strategy, right? It's there. It's part of the thing. I've tried it. I like it. I don't like it. And so you have a stabilized segment of the market versus like, hey, when it was on the upswing and people were really starting to get interested in options for a while, you had this really big boom. And so as it was growing, it's just like any other trend, like people are buying this trend, right? And you had this explosion in it. And so people are buying this trend and it's easier to sell into it. Just like when Bitcoin was first booming, it was easier to sell into that than it is after it drops, 40%, 50%, right?
And I think the next trend in options will be zero DTEs.
Mm-hmm.
So right now they only have them in the S&P and the SPY. I was at a different conference and I talked to the head of business development at the Miami Exchange. And I guess the Miami Exchange is backed by, do you know who they're backed by? Someone with a lot of money. They're backed by someone with a lot of money. And they're trying to create new innovative products. And I'm like, if you could create, so the good thing about the zero DTEs, like I said earlier, they convert to cash. So you can put on a put spread, you can put on a call spread, you can buy calls, you can sell calls. It converts to cash. So like your margin isn't going to worry about that. Like on Friday, like I put spreads on for tomorrow on Micron and Nvidia. I have to watch those tomorrow because they convert to stock. These convert to cash. And I think eventually, if Miami doesn't do it, they should do it, is 0 days until expiration options in Tesla, in Apple, in Amazon, in Google, and those convert to cash. That would be such a home run, in my opinion, in the
Mm-hmm.
option realm. And I think that would be the next hot thing because now you can buy and trade with something that converts to cash. Like I trade for the first hour and a half and done.
Right.
I mean, I look at myself when I'm at the gym, but like I'm kind of much done. If I can put out a trade or position at the end of the day, it converts to cash. That's your wave. I
Yeah.
mean, they said on CNBC, 40% of all options are zero DTs. Like, and the CBOE, because I'm very well connected with the people that are very high at the CBOE, they're trying anything to push these things because
Really.
they have the only zero DTEs for the SPX that converts to cash. They basically told me they would give me a significant marketing budget if I was to start pushing a product for zero DTs.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool though, because it's like thinking about how like again, like securities are a product and they're sold.
Right.
And understanding when there's going to be a lot of push and money coming in for a new product that Mark is excited about, then us having our product of newsletters, subscriptions, education, whatever it is around that product, that's kind of part of the game. It's like the timing game. And so you can time the market stories like AI in general, or you can time the asset class story, I guess you'd say.
Well, I mean, it's like as we know, and like in any it's I feel like in every Agora division and in every publisher that tries to pretend they're Agora is basically some trend comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have good copy, you have a good guru that knows their stuff, you're going to do really well, right? And we've got to be at a point pretty soon we're done with AI, right? It was cryptos for a while, and then unfortunately, Altucher was promoting, Bitcoin when it was 8,800, that dropped to 3,500, and he's getting hate mail and stuff like that, which I don't condone that. I think that's crazy and terrible for him. Like, look at him now. Now it's 45,000. Now he's a genius again, right? So,
Right.
I mean, there's always trends in the industry
Mm-hmm.
that somebody finds to sell well. Like the 5G was hot for a while, right? So
Yeah.
like, what is the next? I mean, AI, I feel is like so played out. We talked about this before
Well,
we got
we already
recording.
seen that with the
Yeah.
media buyers. I posted a video was it last month? And they were saying that like the real boom on acquisition like was about 5 months and then it petered out and it had come back in waves, but like it was way shorter of a period of time that it really ran.
Front end, you're saying?
Yeah. When they were acquiring stuff than you would have thought. And in fact, 5G lasted way longer in terms of its work. So I don't think it's over. Like
Do
I
you,
think
I mean, do you
one,
know the new hot thing that's been converting well if AI is not doing so well?
it's not doing terrible. It's well, that's part of the conversation we'll have in FMS now. Because so what I do is I try and bring in just like I do that thing on YouTube here where I'll get a bunch of media buyers to come on and just talk about what they see working. We'll do that more in depth there, and I'm trying to do that every quarter here in the channel just to kind of like keep a finger on it. Um, but the other thing is still like sentiment. Like you can just track sentiment and subscription sales pretty much go together at this point.
I mean, would you say obviously like Agora is the big whale, but there's a lot
Well,
of
actually, market wise is I mean, in a lot of ways, you could say that market wise is supplanting Agora for not because they're so intertwined, right?
right, yeah.
History. But yeah, like uh, those two companies are definitely like the dominate the space.
So let's just remove them for a second because they obviously have bigger budgets, bigger marketing, bigger advertising, more employees. Like on the smaller scale, on like other publishers, there's a lot of publishers that would be at your conference that's not Agora. What do you see? When you talk to a lot of people, have a lot of premium information. What do you see working, not working? Where do you see the shifts and transitions on a smaller publisher? Someone's doing 2 to 20 million.
Well, here's the thing: is like a lot of the smaller publishers, there's a certain size you can get to that your biggest problems are less the market and more your marketing, right? And I would say you're sub 5 million. Your marketing is a problem. It's not you're not even like, yes, you can catch a big trend, but you're not going to catch very much of it, right? Even if like your Bitcoin at the best when it's hot, you're going to get a piece of it, but it's not going to work as well for you because you can't scale the customer base. You can't acquire the customers to really get the most out of it. And that's part of like the cycle when we talk about all the layoffs that happened this year, like people in the industry, people don't even understand, like when the market is booming, the game in a sense, the business is adding as much product as you can to capture as much of the upside, and that's what a scaled business can do, right? Is it can kind of like expand with the market as it goes up, and then it has to contract when it drops down because all that product is no longer sellable. And so like that like kind of layoffs when things drop is just the normal cycle that we have because you have to really like have the infrastructure to be able to capture more of the total upside when things are booming. And so a smaller group has no capacity to really capture that much of the upside. And so you'll have, but it can be stable at the place that it's at. And that bridge to like, hey, how do you actually like scale up the staff and the production capabilities to capture more upside is like, so it's an operational and a marketing problem, right? So a lot of smaller groups, they can't afford to have copy teams that work, like it's expensive. They need the promo to work. They can't work more like with the model that's more like a venture version of investing, right? It's like I'm going to have 10 promos and one of them is going to make all my money, or they can't afford to do that. And so they have a marketing kind of operational hurdle to get over. And you either use some kind of a partnership or you use a trend to kind of capitalize, or you raise money to try and capitalize through that problem. But if you don't, then you're kind of stuck there. So smaller guys like sub 5 million, it's a completely different issue than a larger publishing group. The guys in the 10 to 20 to $30 million range is more like similar. They have enough scale that they can capture upside when things are going. And they follow kind of the same things where AI is still working. We've had, I got to get the guys back on to talk about the things that what else is working, but it's very narrow trends that you can capture it. Once you're big enough, you need a big trend to capture enough volume of customers to make it worth your time and worth your while.
Yeah, but
Right.
take that small publisher because obviously I'm in the under 5 million group. I would love to some degree. And this is why, personally, for me, Agora was such a good fit, right? They take my name, they take my brand, they give me the copywriter, they
Hmm.
give me the money, they give me the marketing, and then I get this much of it, which was great for me. But like, I'm a small publisher. I'm under the 5 million, right? I would love to scale up, and it's not a money issue for me. You know, if I spend $20,000 a month in, leads, or $50,000 a month, as long as I'm getting ROI break even in, I would even take 9 months. I can't even get 9 months, then I can scale it as much as I want. I would never want to get too big. So I don't
Hmm.
think it's a money thing.
Well,
It's
for you, so there's like and I can speak this. I mean, this is what I can
yeah.
split down. You're also a single operator, right?
I mean, yeah, some back
You're
end time and tax. Yeah.
but you don't have another partner.
No, no, yeah, 100% on that.
So if you're most of the sub $5 million businesses are partnered businesses. And this is like a math issue, right? Because now if you have two people who are taking their income from the same small publishing business, that dramatically reduces how much money you have to invest, right? Because you have to make your nut. You have a family, you have
We have a
expenses,
digital product. There's
right?
zero cost of goods sold. It's just
But you
like
have to be able
if
to
I can get
acquire.
$90 in revenue and spend
Yeah.
$90, I'm doing that to the cows come in, because then eventually I'm going to get
Hmm.
them on the back end. So like it's we have the best industry in the world for I'm an EO, entrepreneurship organization. I've been in EO for 10 years. Okay. YPO is the big boy game, EO, and then accelerate. Okay. And in EO, all these people own different businesses, right? You
Hmm.
have restaurants, you have like in my form, there's someone who owns a restaurant, someone who owns legal something. Anyways, like the complaints they have with their business is like, hey, we have 90-day paydays. I'm like, that sucks. I take people's credit card right now. You pay me right now. Like they're like, they have 120 employees. Like that's crazy. Like the fact that we get paid and we're selling a product. I mean, most of these products, if you have a development cost of a software, I get it. But most of these products, when I sell an educational course, there is this much to cost of that product, right?
Hmm.
So we have a digital product. We have a recurring business model where you have a subscription that's recurring every month. I mean, I might not go on Netflix for 4 months. I'm not canceling my subscription,
Right.
and that happens too. When people want to cancel, we'll cancel, no problem. But it's the best business in the world. That should make it easier to scale because you're getting money today, you're on a subscription, and there's no cost of goods sold for most of these products.
Right.
If you
So
were to send out a recommendation,
all your problem is always in acquisition, right? It's in your cost of media and
yes.
promo risk, right? That's pretty much all of it right there. And so um that like that issue is the thing that stops everybody. And some of it's because they don't have enough product. Like when Wealth Press was able to boom the way they were able to boom was because they had Roger was able to put together so many with because he had systems. He was able to put together so many different products that they could have a robust back end really fast as they were acquiring and keep selling in monetizing. Somebody who has fewer products or they have a more time intensive thing, right? There's a lot of different issues here for people. Some of it is like their appetite for media spend risk. It's like trading. Like some people are comfortable spending 100 grand a month, and other people freak out after they put $10,000 down, and it doesn't work out right away, right? It's but in trading, you'd be more comfortable with a certain size risk, and then once you get to a certain dollar amount, you're freaking out. And so it's like risk tolerance there, and then it's promotional skill, right, is a huge problem. And so like the product delivery, you're right, like the product delivery is great, but it's the promotional problem, like promotional risk. How can you sell your stuff? Not just like can you get a converting offer, but can you get it out in time if it's trend based, which a lot of times people can't do. Can you stomach the fact that if you're paying for 2 or 3 or 4 failed promos to get to that fifth one that really works well? Do you have like the stomach to keep hiring, or do you hire? Because this is what I see too, is like I hired 2 copywriters, it didn't work. Copy doesn't work. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like an individual promo piece of copy might not work, but copy clearly works. That's. And so like you have these issues on a smaller scale that like they're bigger hurdles because the amount of money you might have to risk is uncomfortable for people.
So, I mean, I understand. I agree with all those
I mean,
points.
do you see it different? I mean, in
I
terms of
mean,
promotion, like
how about
promoting,
like,
like
well, I mean,
you're good
most
pitching, you're
small
good on
publishers, most small publishers are not going to spend much on promotion. Like I was
right.
fortunate at Money Map; they spent $482,000 on a promotion. That was just to rent
Like
Tower
a
Theater and
promotion.
get and one promotion. They rented Tower Theater in Philadelphia, and they had 300 paid actors there. And they spent 480,000 because you want to know why? I'll tell you exactly why. Because Jed saw the Tim Sykes promo and he goes,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want 30 people in an auditorium. He's like, I want to rent the whole thing. And Jed's like, he tells Mike, he goes, hey, I need $1 million for this thing. Mike's like, okay, cool, let's do it. He's like, I want Andrew to be the guy. Then Tom Gentile got mad at because I'm the new kid in town and I get the $500,000 production. But like production costs shouldn't, for a small publisher, copywriter, I understand. Production costs shouldn't be much. I mean, but like, what do you see in the trend
Media buying
of
though, the media costs. It's
okay,
media.
but what do
Yeah,
you
production isn't.
see in the trend of publishers on a non-Agora scale? The shift is there shifts of customer acquisition that's working now? Like, do you hear anybody killing it on TikTok? Do you hear anybody doing really well on Instagram?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like there are, it's kind of like the Substack thing. So I was talking, I don't want to say their name right now, but I was talking to somebody who was, this was last week, I think the number one for a period of time, the number one Substack newsletter,
Okay.
entirely sold via social content.
What's Substack
They,
mean?
you don't know, Substack is a newsletter platform, and you can publish there, and it basically lets you, it has a discovery engine, so it will recommend people, and you can sell subscriptions through their platform, and they'll handle the money transaction piece, so that they'll take a small percentage. And so, and as it grew, um, a lot of people who were not publishing business people, they were just analysts or whatever. They wrote a newsletter and they put a paid version, and they're making great money, and they are making great money. So I was talking to the largest one of that. It's been a big kind of sub trend in the industry here. For a while, Bill Bonner was writing on Substack, which is funny himself, but he stopped that, I think. But uh, the they were giving you customers as the traffic grew and their SEO on the whole platform, like they were giving you customers. And this person was growing via social, and they told me frankly, like they started in 2021, end of 2021. They're pretty much capped out on their growth, and this was a hard year, and so it declined a lot, and they're not getting any more of that kind of acquisition. And so they have a problem of like, do we try and learn paid acquisition, or do we just try and sell our business?
Are
And
you
like
saying they get what social media outlets do they get for lead gen?
they were using Twitter, LinkedIn, not so much YouTube, I don't think, TikTok, like all the short form kind of stuff.
Really?
And they grew, they have a couple hundred, 250 to 300,000 paid, or not paid subs, free subs. And I don't know how many their paid subs were, but they were kind of the top one of those. And so they grew that way. Right. And so what I've seen is we haven't seen anybody. I mean, Tim Sykes did this, right? Like Tim Sykes started on Twitter. He was the original financial influencer. He was like the guy. And he built it, and then he transitioned that audience into a paid model too. Um, and so that's what I think there's a lot of people like that. We haven't seen anybody who has, or I haven't seen anybody who has scaled a business on social. It's a question of how do you start to get traffic, because you can get to a certain point. Real Vision started with their Twitter audiences. Their first, like, I forget how many thousand subs came from Twitter. And then they hit the same wall. Everyone seems to hit the same wall, which is, this is a niche business, right? It's not mass consumer. There is an audience of a certain size on social for this kind of stuff, depending on what sector, segment, whatever you're in. If you can do it well, you can get to a certain size. But I think you're still sub 5 million. Maybe you can get over 5, but I haven't talked to anyone who's really broken that $5 million mark in revenue. I think from maybe I'm wrong. I don't know the revenue of this last group. But then they hit a wall where it's like you have to convert into a paid direct response marketing business to be able to continue to grow, and you can leverage it. But I think that's the thing, and that could change, right? It could change. Like this is like, I think, a demographic question, right? When I always say this: millennials are what, just in the leading edge is early
I don't
40s.
know. I'm not a millennial.
They're early 40s.
Yeah.
And like they're not in their prime investing years, but they invest in trade way more than any previous group did at that age, right? So as they age, they should come into this market more, because really like saving for retirement and into retirement is where the customer base for newsletters and everything really kind of is. And so I think but they're also much more comfortable in acquiring content and making decisions and stuff through social channels. So maybe that will shift the market over time, but we don't know. Like I think about like Andrew from Investor Place was telling me this. They tried so many tests, like when Facebook was big and Facebook groups were big, they got 1 million or more followers on their page and they did all this stuff. And they were like, it just ended up never being worth their time. Um, and so there's, and I don't mean to talk too much here myself because, but like there's a split of like direct response marketing businesses are built on advertising in other content channels or marketing channels, right? It's the paid piece that makes you able to scale. It makes the business work. It's the copy, media buying, the funnel, all that stuff. That used to be direct mail, right? Would be like you had to have a good list buyer, you had to have all that kind of stuff, and then it switched to the internet. But it's still fundamentally always this direct response piece is there's large channels that I can buy ads in. Now, there are people who can make the business work with content first, but how far can that get you? I don't know. We haven't seen a with the possible, I guess maybe Hedgeye, but they're doing paid acquisition too, as far as I understand it. But that's a pretty good sized business. And so I haven't seen anybody that has gotten to like I would question like the $10 million limit.
I agree with it's actually as I was thinking about it too. Like I got my initial customer base from Twitter. There's a lot of people that are on, that are basically influencers that like a Ricky Gutierrez. You ever heard his name? He's in
Yeah.
like Glendale. Ricky Gutierrez, Cameron Foose, who used to be with Sykes,
Oh
and
yeah.
like Warrior Trading, like Ross. But like they used social to grow and they went from zero to a decent site publishing, but none of those. I agree with you that I never thought about that before. Nobody has used just social to get above 5 million, because I don't think any of those guys are, as much as they want to say they are, but
Right. And it
they
used to
made a nice
be,
business just doing YouTube, TikTok, and
mhm.
Instagram. Those three
And so
guys.
you used to be able to do the exact same thing with just pure affiliate marketing. When I came into the business and the trading side, when I first started like writing and doing campaigns in the space, like you could have a killer promo and you could build your business. And while we managed to get to, I think we had a year where we did 10 with that, because I just had a killer promo that over the course of 2 years did like 11 or whatever. Um, then it shrunk right back down, right? Without any paid media, we got 10 million and then it just shrunk down to 2 or 3. Um, without being able to do the paid acquisition well and having like the full like kind of like system of multiple promos, products, um, and doing that, like we just haven't seen it yet.
Why don't we have probably like what 10 minutes left or something?
Yeah.
Why don't we kind of hype up the conference a little bit here? I know you never like to like promote stuff and advertise and talk about the conference, and it's okay because I can do it for you because I don't make money.
I don't know. No, I think about it this way, like for me, and this is my view of the world in general, is there's a lot of problems in business and half of them are solved by another person, right? Like a connection. Like right now, there's a lot of people that are looking for gigs because they got laid off, and it's like, you know, people are sending me their introductions to them, trying to help them find work, and I'm doing my best when I can, but we're not really hiring right now. And I'm talking to folks, and like they haven't heard of FMS because they've been inside a company, or they're starting to realize, hey, I don't have a network of people. And then I know other people who are like literally everybody that I work with is from somebody that I met at FMS or through somebody I met at FMS. And so when like you need affiliate promotions, when you need to get hired, when you need a joint venture deal, when you need like, hey, how do I solve this particular problem, whether it's technical in the business or marketing related, like it's usually the information or connection to somebody else is going to give you that answer. And so we just put everybody who really knows the business in the space in the room, don't promote it to like the entrepreneur. Don't promote it to like digital marketers who don't work in the space, and just get folks here from the industry to get together and share. And like, so like that network, like your network is, I don't want to say your net worth, but it's your opportunity set, you know?
So like, to go back to that, like obviously, like I've emceed a couple times, and from my point of view, like there's so many people there. And we didn't prep this too. There's so many people there, and it's hard to meet someone. So like, can we do some like my favorite thing is the speed dating thing where you
Oh, we're
just like
doing it. We're doing
boom,
it.
boom, 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 boom. Like I think there's like in EO, I always like do a lot of my experience from EOs. We always do needs and wants. Like I
Mm-hmm.
need a copywriter. I want this, and then people can network. Like maybe we have like some board in the back. You say your name and what you're looking for, or something like that. Like the idea of bringing everybody together in this
Mm-hmm.
industry, and I never thought about that before. That you don't let these people in. Like digital marketer in San Diego, like Ryan does a great job, but they started with like
Mm-hmm.
200 people, and then 2 years later, some guy has a dentist practice in Iowa and he wants to do Facebook ad campaigns. I'm like, I have nothing in common with this guy. And the chiropractor in Des Moines is like, what's going on here? Why am I here now? So, how it's great, to bring the network together. That
Mm-hmm.
your network is unbelievable, and who you can get there, who you get to speak there, and who you bring there. Like there's always, CEOs, the Agora divisions, but how can we, now that we get people there, how can we integrate them together better?
Yeah. So like the first thing is I tell this to everybody, like I'm literally, when I'm not on stage, I'm just trying to make connections. So like if I don't talk to you,
So,
talk to
so bother
me.
you. So
Yeah,
go
bother me.
find you.
Like because I'm like, that's like the thing that I do at the event. It's like you need this, and you'll see me just finally like towards the second half of the day on the first day. I'm like, I won't even say anything. I'm just like, you come over here, talk to this person. He needs this, do that. Two, I love like speed. This it was Leadmark had the idea for speed networking the first time, and so we did that, and we're gonna do that again. It's awesome. So everybody gets to meet everybody at least for a couple of minutes. Nobody brings cards anymore, but if you have cards or you do the LinkedIn QR code to connect to people, like just get ready to like connect to everybody. I love the idea of needs and wants. Let me think about that. How we can do that. We're a little
So
bit too big now to do what I used to do. That's why I used to do that thing in the beginning where it's like everybody stand up and tell me who you are,
yeah,
because then like everybody knows really fast who to talk to and who not to.
I think one year, which was a cool idea too. There was like, I'm not sure if you guys did it, but I feel like there's tape, like you did like an hour or 30 minutes, and like, okay, we're doing certain tables. This table is the copywriters. If you're a copywriter, go to this table right now, and then who needs a copywriter? Go introduce
Mm-hmm.
yourself, kind of thing. Because there's so the big problem is like there's so many people. It's like hard to find what you need at that time.
Yeah, no, that's good. Let me think about how to do that. Maybe I can find some space to do that again, because the table was a good one. The couple of things that we did that I thought were cool, that you know one was that where we did have like, okay, I know everybody needs a handful of things. They're gonna need a copywriter, they're gonna need a media buyer, they're gonna need an affiliate. um and so who's open to what, like, yeah, have sections. Another thing that we did that worked really kind of funny, it works better in a small group, but we did it in a big group and it actually turned out pretty cool, was I call it deal doodling, where it's like throw three people together and just like tell each other what you do real fast, and then brainstorm a way that you guys can do a joint venture. Don't have to actually do it, but just like brainstorm it. And people start coming up with shit like that they could work with each other on, that, oh, I never thought about that, because now it's just a brainstorming exercise. So that was pretty cool. But I think the tables, um, that was a good one. And then of course there's just the uh, actually know what you want when you come in the door, um, and just tell people like, hey, what are you looking for? And then ask them, like, this is like part of like, how do you work an event? Um, you know, uh, tell them what you want. Hey, I'm looking for this. I do this. And people, you tell that to enough people, everyone's gonna start introducing you. That's one thing I love about this community, is everyone starts to connect each other. Like, you should talk to this person. You should talk to this person.
And
Um,
I will take some of his responsibility. If anybody wants to be connected, I know a considerable amount of people in the room, so you can always come find me and ask. I mean, I know every guru. I know that. So like, I always every time I go there, because I was with Agora for 6 years, I would always try to. I mean, I got Lance a deal with Morgan. Like I'm like,
nice.
I was like, Lance, I'm like, you're not gonna. I'm like, come to this conference. I'm like, you're probably not going to get an Agora deal, but I could probably get you a deal with another publisher. And he got a couple offers, and then he signed with Morgan. Now he's been with Morgan for like 4 years. Like same thing. Like I didn't make any money off Lance. Like I just wanted him. I love Lance. Like I wanted him to do well in the industry. And
Mhm.
like everybody says their industry is really small. Like our industry is really, 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 really small, right? So like we all want, there's enough money to go around where
Mhm.
you can have everybody succeed. Like I was so
Yeah.
happy when John Carter sold his company to private equity. I'm like, yes, yes, we got to score one for the good guys. And then when the FTC goes after another company, I'm like, no, we don't want this. This is so bad for the industry.
Yeah.
So why don't you briefly mention, do you want to talk about the accelerator thing or?
We are going to be bringing the accelerator back. I don't want to go into too much detail right now. That's like basically like the mastermind group for the industry. It's a little bit more than that, and I've come up with some new things that we're going to do. We've got a lot of really cool stuff that is going to come out. I'm gonna try and announce everything at FMS and have it all for everyone to understand what's going on, because the industry is, I think there's a lot of things happening in the industry. It's shifting, not just like it's not just the market, but there's like a lot of things that are changing. I think the trader education side is getting a little bit more segregated from the newsletter side in terms of like what's working and not working there. The sales models, the marketing models. I think there's, everybody who's interested in the connections between this business and other parts of capital markets and finance. There's opportunity there. So it's like kind of like the small kind of operator has I think almost more opportunity right now than they have in the past. And there's a lot of cool things that you can do to generate revenue pretty quick, especially in times of like trouble here.
Did we
But
have
things are getting
was
better.
it 1 year off or not? It didn't go last year, right? Or did it go
Yeah,
last
we
year?
had 1 year off,
1 year.
which was hard for me. But yeah, we had 1 year off. And other than that, we've done it every year for 10 years. So no.
Well,
So
I'm looking forward to the event. I'm looking forward to meeting people. If you see me there, I will be emceeing the event, which means unfortunately I cannot get drunk the night before because I have to wake up early. That's the only thing I didn't like about doing it. Like I have to get up at 9. I'm not a morning person. So if you
I
guys have any
appreciate
want
you
to meet,
doing it. It's
yeah, if
awesome.
anybody needs any introductions, you can come find me. I'm really looking forward to it. Like I have a lot of things going on personally in my industry as well. That I want to make more deals. I want to make more
Mhm.
money. And this, out of everything I do in this world, this is my number one source of potentially finding something. I'm a guru. I've been with Agora for 6 years. I'm looking for a publisher. Like I would love to go
Mhm.
come on board. I'm gonna go bother Heather at Weiss right now, probably. So I mean, it's a great, like I said, there's in my opinion, there's 4 different segments, and everybody needs everybody, the ecosystem to come together. So I'm excited to go. I'm excited to meet new people. Makes to say to make the Zach character, who still thinks a ghost.
This is Zach Westfall. Zach doesn't like to travel. He is coming. He's coming out of his hole in Austin, his very well stocked, very wealthy little hole in Austin, and coming to speak, which is great. Because I do think that's one thing. Like the trader, like just speaking about Zach, the trader education model that he has is not the Agora newsletter model, right? They don't have the same marketing model. They're fundamentally different. And he has a fantastic business, him and Tim. And they're doing a lot of cool stuff. And I think that's something that people need to like start to get clear on, is like there's different ways to monetize and make this business work. You don't have to just try and copy Agora, because a lot of times you can't. Like you really can't. If you can't afford the copywriters, then you can't use their model, like fundamentally.
Trust me, I have. Do you have the black book, the Agora black book?
Oh, I have
Like
all,
this
yeah.
thick. It's like 800 pages. I read like 20 pages. Like I'm never gonna do any of this.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for doing this, and thanks for emceeing. Looking forward to getting together and hanging out.
Yeah, me
Been too
too.
long.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.